we follow all the church teachings, and we work for the Archdiocese of New York Catholic Church. And we try to bring people to have an encounter with God, because I believe that when you have an encounter with God, you learn to love your sacraments, your church, your pastors, the church in general. You learn to love it. I think our church is so beautiful, it has so much things to give, but sometimes we just don't appreciate them. But it's because our lack of our involvement, our lack of involvement with God. We just don't know God as we should know. And we have a lot of people that just go because they have to go. And as Catholics, we have to do a lot of things. That we have to go to Mass on Sundays. That's obligatory. We have to follow the church's teachings. Sometimes I feel like we just do it because we're obligated, but we don't do it from heart, or because we love God. And I believe so much in the Eucharist. I believe that Jesus is there in that altar. I believe the one that walked over waters, he becomes a reality in every Mass around the world. And I believe that all Masses are healing Masses. I don't like, sometimes they use the terms healing Mass, and I don't like to separate the Masses, because I believe all Masses are healing Masses, where Jesus becomes alive, because where he becomes present. We're supposed to experiment the power of God. He came to do the will of God, and he's still alive, and he still wants to do God's works. And we don't receive, or we don't experiment his mercy or his power, because we don't expect it from him no more. I remember a person once told me, if it's the same Jesus, the Jesus from the Bible, if it's the same one that becomes a reality in the altar, why isn't that Jesus healing like the Jesus from the Bible did? It was a good question. But the Lord gave me a response for them. I said, the difference is not in Jesus. That's the same Jesus. The difference is in the people that follow. See, that people from the New Testament, they came expecting to receive something from Jesus. Today, we don't expect nothing from Jesus. We just come to, because whenever we want to go, or we're obligated to go, then we'll go. We go, but we don't go expecting to have an encounter with him, to receive from him, to love him, to worship him. The difference is in the people.
What about the discipline? I mean, you're speaking about Jesus a little bit like people have, if you like, been brought up by parents that didn't discipline too much, because we have a problem here in this country now with violence, young people. And, you know, you kind of think, well, that's because they didn't have any boundaries. And this goes, for me, right back to God's covenant, you know, because we break it all the time. And his love for us keeps going. And he keeps making new relationship with us. And we seem to do nothing except break the rules. So where do we go with that?
Well, I believe the same thing that's happening here is also happening in the United States. I believe is a question of faith. Man no longer looks towards God as a guideline, as the boundaries you were saying. We have no boundaries now. We now live Christianity the way we want to live it, you know, and so now our children are not, they have no guidelines.
They want them though.
They do, and they expect them, and we should teach them these guidelines and show them that God loves them more than the world loves them. And you know, for a long time, we have been showing them that the world loves them and that God has been absent. And we have to introduce them again to God. And I believe that we have to return back to the faith. In the United States, where I come from, it's so strange how Christianity is evolving now, in a bad way. Churches are empty. No one's seeking God, and then everybody's living God their way. They're throwing away the bylines or guidelines, and they're living Christianity the way they want to live it. We can see that with the elections we just had. 4 years ago, we rejected a Catholic senator because he was in favor of abortion, and he was in favor of a lot of things that Christians did not believe in. And the Christian community arose and said, "You're not going to be president." So they preferred re-electing George W. Bush. And then we have the same situation 4 years later, and what's shocking is that there was one candidate that was against abortion, was against everything that's against Christianity, and was in favor of the morals again. And the Christian community was the one that declined that candidate, and they voted and put in power the actual president that we have now, who so calls himself a Christian, but then he's against everything that we Christians believe in. But the sad thing about it was the Christian community that gave him the power. So that's Christianity today, and we have to go back to our roots.